I don't believe in working for a living.
The notion that a person's ability to survive is tied to what they can produce for the machine is frankly absurd, and I refuse to accept that we draw breath for 80 years just to spend most of our waking adult life at a job. It's not that I don't understand that labor is part of life or that we need certain roles to be filled for the functioning of society. And it's not that I'm not a good worker, because I really don't mind labor. But of the almost 10 million species on this planet, only one is doing life this way. And I don't think it's because humans are exceptional. I think we're just doing it wrong. And it wasn't always this way. Indigenous cultures across the globe had entirely different and better ways of existing. This is a uniquely modern Western problem, and I hate that for us. Many believe humans are the most intelligent of the sentient beings on this planet, and if that's true, I'm a little disappointed, but I'm not without hope. There was a time in my life when, immediately upon waking up, I hated that I had woken up at all. But after watching others living happy, free lives on this platform, in a few short years, I think I may have become one of them. And I did it through labor, so I absolutely understand the value of work, which is why I believe it should be preserved for the betterment of our world, not to mindlessly flail through our short individual lives while making a few people wealthy along the way. Every organism has a role in the series of intertwined ecosystems that pass energy and resources from one being to the next in an endless loop of reuse, and humans are part of that cycle. We have an essential role within the earthly ecosystem as stewards of the land. We're meant to utilize the capabilities of our human form to tend to the earth and her inhabitants, and to treat them kindly in return for the resources the earth freely provides and her wisdom that guides our steps. Of course, two things can be true. It's true that there is a much better way of being, and it's true that our current society doesn't function that way, and we still have to find a way to get by. Running off to the woods has been a beautiful experience, but my bills followed me here. So I don't have all the answers, but I'm happy to share how I make this little life work.
I'm watching the ripples on the pond. See if I can show you.
Back in Philly, I worked in nonprofit performing arts, doing marketing for an orchestra and later a university arts program. I have a degree in marketing, but coming out of school, I knew helping some companies sell products to the masses wasn't the path for me. But I had played a few instruments growing up and loved music, so working in the arts felt more fulfilling, even if it didn't pay as well as a corporate job. On the side, I managed social media for a food tour company and would also take on freelance marketing and writing gigs. So when I was planning to move to New York, I was looking for work related to land and farming, and to my surprise, I found a communications job with a nonprofit that offers resources for small farms. And this was a really great way to learn more about farming and the new community I was in. I eventually left that job for a nonprofit land project further upstate, but in the first few weeks, 4 employees had left the organization, so I had a sense that my time there might be short-lived. Anyone who's worked in the nonprofit sector knows how unfortunately exploitative they can sometimes be, especially for smaller or new organizations, and sadly that was the case with both of these. But by the time I decided to leave the second organization, I was under contract on my property, so I knew my expenses would be decreasing in the near future, and that made me feel more comfortable with my decision, especially because I didn't have another job lined up. A silver lining of these jobs is that I got to work alongside some really wonderful people and walked away with some beautiful friendships and really helpful connections. And at the end of the day, that first nonprofit is the job that got me out of the city, so I'm forever grateful for the role it played in getting me here. After this, I transitioned to part-time, contract, and seasonal work, often having multiple jobs at once. I haven't had a full-time 9 to 5 since, but there were times I was working more than 40 hours a week across different jobs. And I liked the flexibility of being able to let the job go if I decided it wasn't working, or to be able to take on seasonal jobs knowing I wouldn't lose all of my income when it ended. But even before I was transitioning through these different phases of jobs, I was closely tracking my expenses and working to minimize them. I used a spreadsheet to track my monthly bills and continually set goals for where I wanted it to be in the future, and just kept working towards those benchmarks. After leaving my last 9 to 5, Lowe's was my first job, and I actually worked there twice. I desperately needed a break from the responsibilities of my previous roles, and also wanted discounts on things I needed for the land, but it ended up being beneficial in other ways. I worked as a merchandiser, so unlike the red vest sales positions, I had a set schedule and weekends off, which was important to me so I could reliably plan for work on the land each week. And even though I've always been handy, I didn't have any real experience building things, so being up close with tools and materials was really useful. And if you happened to be working when items were deeply discounted, you could get first dibs. I paid $35 for a $250 grill, and the $300 sink that will be going in my kitchen had been a display and was going to be thrown out, so I got it for free, even though they weren't actually supposed to let me have it. That said, working for large corporations with billionaire CEOs that don't pay a livable wage and prefer products go to the landfill instead of giving them away directly conflicts with everything I believe. So I probably wouldn't work there again, but it served its purpose at that time in my life. I've been able to continue supporting local farming, land stewardship, and food sovereignty work, but not in the capacity of a full-time job, and that has made the work much more sustainable. And I've had a slew of other jobs in the meantime. I did admin and marketing work for a local brewery. I worked a market stand and did packing and driving for local farms. I worked in the kitchen of a family-owned bakery and did fulfillment in a warehouse. I also have friends with farms who periodically pay for extra hands, so I also do that when it comes along. Most of these jobs were born from previous work or relationships I built, and that feels like ecosystem in action. Rooting in my community continues to present opportunities for me down the line. I also continued to freelance, but would only do the aspects of marketing I find enjoyable and easy, which is mainly website design nowadays. Even though it's work, I want to enjoy how I spend my time, so being honest with myself about the parts of my career I found most stressful or least enjoyable, and not taking on that work even when it's good money, has given me more peace than those paychecks ever could. About a year ago, I had reduced my expenses enough to be able to work just one part-time job so I could have more time to work on my property. But I was still feeling a bit disconnected from the land, not only because I was leaving for work, but also because the workplaces weren't always aligned with my values. And as I grow in deeper relation with the land, I want to be in spaces that reflect the lessons I'm learning. So recently I took the risk to only freelance, even though I don't love the unpredictability of the income. But I just want to be at home on this land, and freelancing lets me do that. I was reading recently about where to go to find a particular mushroom, and the author mentioned that just because you don't see the mushroom when you go looking for it doesn't mean it doesn't grow there. Perhaps you visited just one day too early or one day too late. This simple note resonated as a general reminder that the land is always changing, and it made me want to be more intentional about visiting and sitting with the land so I don't miss a thing. Of course, I don't expect to see it all, but I'd at least like the chance to try. One morning, I found dew so gently wrapped in the tiny leaf of the native strawberry that sprawls the sunny spaces of the land. I had gotten down on all fours because I was excited to see the very first strawberry flowers this spring, and only after staring closely at them did I notice the surrounding leaves holding this dew. Surely, had I been rushing towards the driveway to leave for work instead of wandering slowly towards the pond, I'd have missed this entirely, and what a shame that would have been. I want to be fully present in every moment here. I want to witness the first flowers of spring and the dew on the leaves. I want to work at a comfortable pace. I want time for rest and time to spend with friends and family, and I want time for my hobbies. I love writing and using it to share the wisdom and the beauty of this land, and for now, freelancing is giving me the space to create videos to do exactly that. If or when it no longer does, I'll find something else, like I always do. Nature teaches us to be adaptable after all. I am infinitely grateful for the freedom that my life on this land has granted, but I'm not sure what good it does if it's kept all to myself. So may these words be my contribution to the ecosystem and help inch someone else ever closer to their own freedom.